It's a victory Monday here on the Bleav in Steelers podcast. I'm Mark Bergin, joined as always by my guy, two-time Super Bowl champion and Pittsburgh Steelers scout, number 24, Ike Taylor, swagging you. Victory Monday. I'm feeling good. Steelers winning against the Rams, coming off the bye week. Wasn't pretty, but Ike, I will take this win in on to Jacksonville.
Don't nobody care what that girl look like. If you feel like don't nobody care what that girl look like, man. If you feel like she bringing some kind of value to the table to to your house, and we just worrying about the left hand column. We ain't worrying about how good that girl look on the right hand column, because you ain't doing nothing but taking L's. As long as we on the left hand column and we catching these W's, we don't care what she look like.
Steelers victorious 24-17. Let's just start right out with the Kenny Pickett sneak. The cynic in me, and Petty Mark's going to come out on the podcast. Thank heavens the Steelers didn't line up in a shotgun formation, and they try to sneak it with Kenny Pickett, and the Rams are out of timeout, so they can't challenge it. I thought it was a very favorable spot. The one thing I want to point out to people watching on television is this, though, Ike. That yellow line that you see on your TV screen is the unofficial line. The chains are the official spot. I did think Pickett got a very favorable spot. I don't think he got the first down, but the yellow line that you see on your TV screen is an unofficial line. The chains are what is most important. I still can't believe, even on this Monday, though, that the ref said that the Steelers got the first down on that play.
Man, if the ref said the Steelers got the first down, the Steelers got the first down. So I ain't even tripping on that, like you say, unofficial yellow line. I ain't even worrying about that line. Let's see what the chain's talking about, So I look at it like this, bro. I look at the unofficial line as being Instagram. It's a fantasy. It's not reality. It's not nothing. I look at that chain. I look at them chains, them 10-yard chains. It's real life. Mm-hmm. It's a lot going on. So the referees, I don't know if they gave us a favorable spot, but I'd take it.
Yeah, and there were several replays too. It's hard to tell sometimes when you're in a scrum of what exactly is going on, but McVay's facial expression, Ike, you always tell me the sideline tells the story, told me everything I needed to know about that play. But hey, save yourself a timeout for that scenario. And from a coaching standpoint, that's why clock management is very, very important, because outside of the 2-minute warning, by rule, the referees couldn't review that play.
Yeah, we take it. Listen, just going over to that West Coast is kind of hard anyway with the time zone change, especially if you're not going a couple of days earlier. So that's already tough on the mentals and the body, let alone LA. Just a good dinner out in LA before the game is everything you need. You don't even need to go out. Just a hell of a dinner is cool. I'll probably wind up going to Nice Guy, something like that. But just to come out that kind of environment, and for the most part, the LA Rams had the momentum throughout the whole game, and it's just like towards the end of the the third quarter, Pittsburgh just like tightened up because it was going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Both defenses played well. Mm-hmm. And if you want to talk about an early surge between Puka and Cooper Kupp, them boys was on the roll that first half. If you just watch the first half, you looking at it like, oh boy, it's about to be a long day for Pittsburgh. We don't know how they're gonna come back. But for some reason, man, they just kept everything in close range. And what I mean by close range is like one score range. And once they got into that one score range, you saw the momentum in the second half, Mark, starting to change. So then you see Jaylen Warren, he came in with a spark. Then you see Najee sticking his foot in the ground, and he just getting north and south, and he's running with an attitude and a purpose. Then you see Deontay Johnson come up big on a third down, and he go for a scamper. Then you just see the alien George Pickens just doing what George Pickens do. I do not need a lot of targets. I don't need a lot of catches. Every time y'all throw it to me 5 or 6 times a game, I wind up getting over 100. That's just what he does. So, man, they had a good mix of everything. And Kenny Pickett was starting to look like the Kenny Pickett mark that we saw last year towards the end of the season. Like when it comes down to the Pittsburgh Steelers needing plays and just closing out games or needing a play, he's just starting to show up. So you can start calling him like Clutch Kenny, and you can just see
Yes, Ike.
Yesterday late in the game, he just like turned into a totally different person, Mark. But I really do Bleav the running schemes between, Najee and Jaylen, they kept it second and short, third and short. It was more manageable than a few times in other games where it was like third and 12, third and 15. Now it's hard, but getting Deontay Johnson too back is always a good thing. But I did see them use AR, Allen Robinson. AR a lot, especially coming in motion. You get a big receiver, a better receiver. He's playing against his former team. So you always, he's going to be amped up a little bit more when it came down to that. But just overall, Kenny Pickett in the running game. I know what Deontay can do. I know what George Pickens can do. And Kenny showed me in clutch moments that he can be clutch. But for me, it was that running game, kept in the second and third down to shorten shorts or shorten mediums.
Ike, we're going to take a quick break to tell our listeners and viewers about BetOnline.ag. The NFL season is rolling, and if you have any bets you want to place on any of the action, player props, spreads, over-unders, BetOnline.ag is the place to do it.
Yeah, 365, 24/7, regardless on what sport it is. Make sure y'all lock in to BetOnline.ag.
Yes, and you can see the promo code on your screen right now. That's BLEAV, and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. Ike, I want to continue this conversation about Kenny Pickett. And I think I heard this on another podcast, but this comparison makes a lot of sense. I'm not the biggest into player comparisons, but how Kenny Pickett plays late in games reminds me of Eli Manning. And the reason I say this is we're 18 starts in now. He has 6 game-winning drives in 5 fourth-quarter comebacks. You call them clutch, Kenny. I think that's a very apt nickname because it doesn't always look pretty in the first 3 quarters. But when the game's on the line, he's demonstrated the ability to deliver time and time and time again.
No, that's exactly what he did. Stood in the pocket, knew he was about to get hit, looked gun down the barrel, and delivered one up the seam to George Pickens and another one on the side to Deontay on that third down. So that's exactly what you looking for in the quarterback. You don't want your quarterback taking them hits. Jaylen Warren and Najee did a very good job of stepping up and picking up the blitzes. But it was a few times that Kenny knew he was about to get hit, but Kenny also knew, like, I got to deliver this mail. So he wound up delivering the mail too as well. And as a defensive player, when you see the quarterback taking them kind of shots and taking them kind of hits and standing up in the pocket, you don't want to do nothing but go back out on the field and give the man another opportunity because you know he understands the value of each and every game. And that's what Kenny Pickett did. But Kenny was on point late, and I'd rather my quarterback start off get hot late than get hot early and kind of flame down. And that's exactly what happened in that game. Matthew Stafford got hot early. It didn't look good for Pittsburgh, but he kind of flamed out a little bit. Kenny didn't look too good in that first half, but starting that second half, he caught fire. So if you're going to give me 2 tails of a quarterback, just give me with Kenny. That's exactly what Kenny, throughout the last 6-7 games last year, Mark, that's exactly what he did. He just started. When Pittsburgh needed a play, he just became Mr. Clutch.
Yeah, and I look at yesterday's game. The second half I thought was his best half of football in a Steelers uniform. Only 1 incompletion. He's 11 of 12 passing, 152 yards. And so the Steelers really struggled in the first half. And we could record this episode and honestly change the team names around. And it was like kind of what the narrative has been with the Steelers this year of hanging around, not looking pretty through 3 quarters. And then when the fourth quarter comes, this team delivers 28 points in the last 2 games in fourth quarters. And in the first 3 of the last 2 games the Steelers have played, only 13 points. But I look at it yesterday where it's like 3 points in the first half. And then you enter the fourth quarter with just 110 total yards of offense. The Steelers roll up 190 yards on 23 plays, 2 touchdowns. Remember, 3 of those plays are kneel downs as well, 191 yards in the fourth quarter. So something clicked in the fourth quarter for this offense, Ike. And if they can just put that together for a full game now, I was really encouraged with what I saw in the fourth quarter with this team. And you mentioned Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris too. How about playing both of those guys on the field at the same time? I've seen some packages where the Steelers have done that offensively. I think it creates confusion by the opposing defense because you don't know where it's going to go with both of those players on the field.
Or you just could be having both of them to pick up a blitz or a
Not a
block.
bad problem to have either, Ike.
Yes, it's not a bad problem. But getting back to your which I didn't answer the first time, but getting back to your Kenny Pickett reminding you of Eli Manning. One thing we always said about Eli was he was always just like okay during the regular season, but during the postseason, nobody wanted to see Eli. Eli turned into a totally different quarterback. You wanted to dead Eli to make sure he didn't get to the postseason. Because once he got to the postseason, you can just go ahead and give them their ring. Just ask Tom and company. The two L's Tom and them took was against Eli, and Eli wakes up in that postseason. The comparison, I can see what you mean by that, as far as like coming back, clutch Kenny, as far as like coming back and getting a drive or two, or getting a play or two for the team to come back and win, or put his team in position to win. You just saw a different kind of body language yesterday. You saw a different team on offense yesterday. You saw a different style when it comes down to running. When I saw Najee usually don't talk smack, but then I had to think about it again. Najee is from the California area, so I'm sure he had a ton of family members and friends there. So Najee ran with a lot of authority. You know, Najee is 6'3" and some change, 242. But Jaylen came off the bench, and he's just, that spark, which he always been throughout the course of the year. But you get them two going, it's going to be tough to stop Pittsburgh. We already know on the perimeters what you got. You got Deontay, he came back, he looked good. And you got George, he all the way different. But you get them two running with the way they ran. If Najee and Jaylen run the way they ran yesterday, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. Now, just Coach Matt Canada just got to get more creative on his personnel and what down the distance on who he wants on the field. I would say in which matchups he like based on his personnel going against the opposing team defense. But other than that, Mark, Pittsburgh just had an attitude. We ain't even going to talk about the defense of T.J. Watt, which we are later on.
We will.
Yeah. But Pittsburgh on the offensive side, you can just tell they just had a different kind of attitude. It was a more aggressive. It was more what I'm used to seeing when it came down to when you said the Pittsburgh Steelers. A running game and play action pass and getting the ball in your playmaker's hands.
And we finally have a rushing touchdown, Ike, after 6 games now. And I thought the key as well was the red zone execution, going 3 for 3 as well, and punching it in when you get those opportunities, Ike. So I thought that was huge on Sunday in the win against the Rams. And like I said, let me reiterate this point. I am a fan of plays where both Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris are on the field at the same time. Now, we got to talk a little bit about the receivers too, Ike. Deontay Johnson's presence definitely makes things easier for George Pickens. Mike Tomlin even said that much after the game. Pickens, with back-to-back 100-yard games for the first time in his career, I think he's emerging into a number one receiver. He needs to channel his emotions in the right way, though, and what I mean by that is this. The only person who's going to stop George Pickens is George Pickens himself. That's just the honest truth. And I'll say this too, Ike. I'd love to get your perspective here on the crackback block penalty that he had. He also had a taunting penalty. But the crackback block penalty specifically, you almost have to be laughing, Ike, as a former player, because I think of the great Hines Ward on a play like that, where the opposing defender wouldn't just be carted off for concussion protocol. That opposing defenders back in the day with what the old rules used to be would be in the hospital. And honestly, Ike, say what you want here, but that's just my opinion, and I Bleav that that's the truth.
Yeah, I wouldn't tone down George on his crack blocking at all. I take his fine or two. I'll pay his fine or two. I'm not going to take that away from George because that is needed. That's his personality. He loves doing it, and usually receivers, they don't like no part of blocking. So I wouldn't tone that down a tad. I just tell them to be smart about it. But the taunting penalties, depending on what game it is, that can definitely hurt you. I think, it's selfish. And if I'm talking to George, not only as a coach, but as a teammate, I just tell him, man, just talk to yourself. Nobody ain't messing with you. The only, like you say, Mark, the only person that's stopping George is George. So everything you're doing on the field, we expect you to do it. And the reason why somebody trying to talk back to you is because they scared, they're nervous, because they know they can't stop you. So go on, do what you need to do. Ain't no need. They didn't see too much tape of you winning one-on-ones, too many spectacular catches, and sometimes when you get the ball at the right time, you'll just take it to the crib. So don't even trip on what somebody's saying to you. Just do what you did yesterday. You was doing like, man, I don't even know how they're gonna stop me. That's when you displayed that, in my mind, I'm like, oh yeah, he talking to himself. Ain't nothing wrong with that. So going on and if I'm talking to GP, like GP, man, going on and let them dudes talk, man. They already know they can't stop you. They coming into the game like they're gonna need some kind of help to stop you. So there ain't no need to talk. All your plays do your talking for you.
Yeah, and yesterday, I thought the penalty on Deontay Johnson after what was a questionable pass interference against Akello Witherspoon, like, just watching this game on TV, I don't know if the referees are aware that, like, all these players were teammates last year. I mean, even Tomlin was right there too. And so if that's taken out of context, like, I don't know exactly what they're saying, but I can imagine. And it's like, it's different when you talk with someone that you know and you have a relationship with. And honestly, I don't know what Deontay said when he shushed Akello Witherspoon when they threw a penalty for pass interference. Now, he was face guarding. I don't think he made a play or broke on the ball, which is why I thought the call was called. I don't think it was a great call. But I'll say this too. I thought with Deontay's penalty, that could have been more so a makeup call of, hey, we can't just pick up the flag for pass interference. It was a questionable call. Let's just give this play a replay. Let's just give this down a replay, because you look at the replay and he maybe a little bit of contact with Deontay Johnson, but I'll be honest with you, I didn't really see pass interference.
Man, whatever the referees calling to help us, man, I appreciate it. If he called pass interference, it was definitely pass interference. If he called face guarding, it was definitely face guarding. The refs ain't wrong on them.
Yeah, I think that's the reason why they call it, Ike, is my understanding of the rule is that you have to make a break on the ball, and he didn't seem to do that. The contact with Deontay, though, it's like, we'll see. Ike, this is the portion of the program where it's now a TJ Watt fan show. And you said this a few weeks back here on this show. Other than Fred Warner with the San Francisco 49ers,
Right.
And look, I know Myles Garrett had a great week, but sustained excellence week after week after week after week after week. What TJ Watt's doing is special. The interception to start the second half, I think, completely changed the momentum of the game. What he's doing, not just as a pass rusher, but as an outside linebacker too, Ike, is special. And it's time where it's like, other than Warner for the 49ers, I don't even know what the other argument would be to fill out the bracket right now for Defensive Player of the Year. And if he keeps this rolling, like, Ike, here's how I look at this. If TJ Watt breaks his own single season sack record and we don't give him Defensive Player of the Year, what are we doing?
Right. So I'm looking at his stats right now since 2017, right? Defensive Player of the Year in 2021, correct? 3 first team All Pros from 2019 to 2021, right? Second team All Pro 2019, 5-time Pro Bowler between 2018 and 2022, right? NFL Force former co-leader since 2019, right? And that's just, and he missed a ton of games. So out of the ton of games, he's the fastest to get to 85.5 sacks in the NFL. 25 forced fumbles, 41 pass deflections. He plays outside linebacker. He has 41 pass deflections. This is the part people don't understand. Cornerbacks have pass deflections, not outside linebackers, right? 41 pass deflections. Fumbles recovered, 10. 10 fumbles recovered. Interceptions, 7. He don't play corner, he don't play safety. He plays outside linebacker. So when I say TJ Watt is always stating his case for being the Defensive Player of the Year, because it's hard. These stats I'm talking about, when you look at sacks, Yeah, we already know outside linebackers and edge rushers, they get sacks all day. But as an edge rusher, you don't talk about 41 pass deflections. You don't talk about 10 fumble recoveries, and you don't talk about 7 interceptions. As an edge rusher or outside linebacker in a 3-4 defense, you don't talk about that. By the way, he got a tutty too. He sure did do the prime as he did when he scored. But what T.J. Watt is doing in less games, it's crazy. It's crazy. So when you want to talk about a guy who can take over a game, if you need a sack, if you need a forced fumble, if you need a pick, if you need a touchdown, call TJ Watt and he gonna answer for you. It's every year, year after year after year. But this just been since he stepped in the league, Mark. So that's why I look at him different. It's hard to find a guy who can play outside linebacker, can cover like a not can cover, can hit like a linebacker, but have the instincts like a safety and can catch picks like a corner. And he plays on the front line. You don't find them guys the Nick Bosa's, the Michael Parsons, them Garrett's, them guys we like. Their guys once they're around the line of scrimmage, you know them guys gonna get to the quarterback. But we're not saying Micah 7 interceptions. We're not saying Miles 7 interceptions. We're not saying 41 pass deflections. We're not saying 10 fumble recoveries, and we ain't even talking about the forced fumbles that he have. So for me, TJ, man, he's Troy Polamalu, but on the line of scrimmage. You don't find them. You don't find them kind of people that instinctive, that close to the line of scrimmage around the quarterback. You just don't. But lucky for Pittsburgh, we got him.
Ike, that is very high praise. The way I look at it is this too. I understand he would need more years of sustained excellence, but because his ability with turnover creation and in coverage and in pass deflections and with interceptions, really the turnover creation, if he continues this pace, it's not only just, hey, headed for Canton in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He needs more years of doing this. But I honestly Bleav that he could pass his brother, J.J. Watt, who is a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, if he keeps up at this rate that he is right now. That's the level of play that I've seen from T.J. Watt. And yet again, we saw it where it was just like the guy's just a magnet to the football. And I can't even imagine what it's like because I know opposing coordinators are game planning for him. You see how opposing teams block him, and he still consistently finds a way to make plays week after week.
You gotta give a huge shout out, not only to TJ and that swag sauce that he's leaving in that outside linebacker position. When you see Alex Highsmith come around the corner, now you got a rookie who went to Wisconsin as well, and Herbert got his first sack, NFL regular season sack yesterday. So when you have a guy who's that special, and we're talking about T.J. Watt, but his work ethic is even better, it's contagious. And you just know, like how we know George Pickens, if you get a ball to George Pickens, he'll wind up making a play for you. As long as you see 90 on the field, he's gonna wind up making a play for you. That's just what it is, man. Like TJ, to have all them instincts wrapped in one body, it's hard. That's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to compare him to TP, but I'm just saying instinctively, we don't talk about edge rushers having pass deflections, interceptions, forced fumbles, fumble recoveries, and touchdowns. All we talk about is sacks, quarterback pressures. That's what we talk about when we talk about edge rushers. Mm-hmm. So to get outside the box, and when you talk about a TJ Watt, and the more you look at his resume, everything is saying cornerback, safety resume. And what I mean by that, pass deflections, interceptions, forced fumbles. Well, shoot, what position he played, right or left side of that secondary? Nah, this Joker play edge rusher. Well, god damn. You feel me? That's what make him so special, Mark.
Hey, go back and watch that interception too. I think it was Joey Porter Jr. that was behind him in coverage. Like the sheer jubilance and delight of the interception was just, it was awesome to see. And I really think it rallied the team and changed the momentum of the game.
Yeah, TJ, everything he he just he just can take he's just a contagious person to be around. Cause if you just be around him, you just waiting for that little drip of swagoo to fall off of him, so you can get it too, so it can go into your pores. Cause sooner or later you're gonna be wind up making plays just like him because you hang around him too much.
Like I said, this is now a TJ Watt fan show. A few other observations from the game. Mike Tomlin teams now 13-4 after the bye week. So the additional time to prepare, I think, was important yesterday. They had a great home field advantage at SoFi Stadium. I saw a lot of terrible towels, a lot of loud. Like I thought they were cheering in favor of the Steelers during the broadcast. I can't imagine what it was like being there. A lot of Steelers alum like Troy Polamalu was there. I saw Joe Hayden. James Ferrier, who we've had on the show. I'll say this too. This to me too, if Brett Maher for the Rams didn't have as bad of a day as he had, maybe the outcome of this game is different. But to me, it was very early on. I mean, Maher was 1 of 3, missed an extra point. But Maher misses the 53-yarder, and we have a field goal kicker, and Chris Boswell, who's having a nice redemption season, made his 53-yarder. I thought that was key in the game, too, from a special team standpoint, where when Boswell's on the field, I'm confident that you're at least getting 3 inside of 50 pretty much every time. He's been pretty automatic, and he's having, again, a good redemption season compared to last year when he was battling injuries.
Yeah, Bozzy back at it. Bozzy back at it. What I mean by back at it is Bozzy back on that y'all ready to go home? Because I'm about to hit these through the upright. Kind of kicking, So once Bozzy get on that road, this is like you say, man, that's just an automatic trait right there for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Which on the other hand, on the other side for the LA Rams, going 1 for 3, that's 6 points taken off. So
yep.
So that's a totally different ball game. So at the same time, it's all 3 phases: special teams, offense, and defense. I think people don't understand how important special teams is till you start missing them field goals or them extra points or start fumbling on punt or kickoff returns. Then it's like, yeah, it's very important. So that's why there's a lot of emphasis on special teams, and there's a reason why before you have that team, you say special, because it's just that one play that could be special throughout the whole course of the game. So Pittsburgh won on that side, and that was one of the reasons why Pittsburgh won, because Bozzy, was hot, and the LA Rams kicker wasn't.
Yeah, I want to say this too about the defense too. I know the secondary play has been the subject of a lot of criticism. To me, though, it was like, we're not going to let Cooper Kupp beat us. We've seen him do that time and time again against other teams in this league. They hold Cooper Kupp to only 2 catches. I know you see Puka Nacua go off for 154 yards, but that was not surprising to me, considering the Rams had several injuries to their running backs, including starter Kyren Williams. So, to me, yeah, the stat sheet doesn't look great, but okay, what are you taking away? That was what the Rams' counter was. But then in the second half, again, you make adjustments too, and it's not just, okay, the result, but the result was only 8 points allowed in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing I know about Coach T and that defensive staff. For the most part, they're going to adjust in the second half. They were just waiting for the offense to catch up with them, and the offense caught up with them. You get, and from a standpoint, the LA Rams had a few penalties too on the offensive side. Because they know TJ and Highsmith coming around that corner too as well, so that helped out too. A few holding penalties too as well, so that helped out too. So just staying within arm's reach, Mark, for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's all really, regardless of whether it's ugly or pretty. That's all the Pittsburgh Steelers at this point. They just want to stay in reach to have a chance, to give themselves a chance to win the game. And for me yesterday, it was just the attitude of Najee and the spark of Jaylen Warren. that said everything. Once I saw Najee talking smack, and sticking his foot in the ground and going north and south, I said, man, we're gonna have a chance. And Najee if he continues to do that, it's gonna be good throughout the course of the season. Because we already know what Jaylen Warren is bringing to the table. He's just one of them Porsches. You know, them Porsches got a high horsepower, but can hit it ASAP. You know, Najee, one of them closing guys, run with an attitude, gonna get 3 or 4 yards. Even if he getting 2, he talking to you like he done got 8. Because he like, the next time I get this ball again, it's gonna be 8. So that's what I love about Najee. But
What does that do to you as a defender mentally, Ike?
Man, see a dude 6'3", 242, who usually don't talk, because Najee usually don't talk. But when I saw him talking yesterday, I was like, please give me all that I need that every game. I need that if you just talking to yourself, I don't care. I still need that every game. So once I saw that Najee, I'm like, oh, they didn't woke the monster. They didn't woke the monster up. So that was perfect for me. As a defender, it's like, damn, man, I ain't want this 250-pound dude to wake up, man, because if the game wind up being close, they're going to wind up giving him the ball. If it's a 10-play drive, he's going to get the ball 8 plays, and sooner or later, I got to come down to hit him. And that don't feel good in the fourth quarter with 3 minutes left. Like, God damn. Like, that's how you thinking as a defender.
Yeah.
You know, so especially, you know, as a corner on the perimeter, it's like, man, I got to deal with this again. But
yeah.
It just messes with you psychologically. In my days, though, Mark, you know, they didn't brainwash the corners on my side playing for Pittsburgh. We couldn't wait till y'all tried to run the ball on us. But I don't care if he was 213 or 260. We was coming downhill anyway. Like that's just what it was. But nowadays, you can tell, you know, Najee, if Najee can give just that attitude, no penalties. You ain't got to talk to the opponent. You just talk to yourself. It might look like you're talking to them, but if you're just talking to yourself, that's just like, for me, I was more excited about seeing Najee amped up doing that than any part of the game.
Fascinating. And Ike, when you played, you almost had to do that for survival, because we could go through the list of backs that you played against, but the two that come to mind, Jamal Lewis, Corey Dillon. I mean, when I've asked you of hell, what would you do against Derrick Henry, or what would you do? You just laugh because you rattle off all of these guys that are all pro, Hall of Fame caliber players.
Man, listen, Warren Green, William Green, Boston College, Cleveland Browns, Corey Dillon. If you want to stay in Cincinnati, we're going to go Rudy Johnson, Auburn. Then you got Jamal Lewis. You know what he did at Tennessee? We call him hippopotamus legs. The man legs was big as hell. So then if you want to get outside, you got to go with Eddie George sitting outside of Tennessee. You know, then you had Foster down there sitting with the Houston Texans. Like, if you want to talk about big back, so then you had, before we got Deuce Staley, it was Deuce Staley sitting in Philly. So before
Curtis Martin too, he's a forgotten back too.
Curtis Martin sitting Hall of Fame, sitting over there with the New York Jets, like an Aliquippa legend. Like, come on, man, you want to talk about big backs? That's all I knew with big backs. Kevin Falk, even though he wasn't big, Kevin Falk was Alvin Kamara before Alvin Kamara. Then after Kevin, you got LaDainian Tomlinson. So you already know a Hall of Fame. Like, y'all want to talk about backs? Man, we've been saying these big backs for a long time. So these big backs they're looking at now, it's like, that's even perfect because you can't shake me. So we got to meet in the middle of the road. And all I know is I like myself over you. That's just what it was. And we ain't even talk about training camp with Jerome Bettis, with Coach Kyle. All he wanted to do was goal line 24/7. So I'm like, oh, Lord have mercy.
Making reservations for the ice bath after practice, Ike.
Every day. Every day. VIP status for that ice tub.
Oh, man. Okay, so week 8, Ike. The Steelers are going to host the Jags. We'll have a full preview later in the show. The Jags open as a 1.5-point favorite. So if you want to place a bet on any of the action, BetOnline.ag will take care of you. But Sunshine, Trevor Lawrence, and the Jags. This is going to be a tough test for Pittsburgh. And I'm excited to talk about this full matchup on our next episode of Bleav in Steelers.
Yeah, we definitely got to get into that throughout the end of the week before the game. But when I played, when you talked about the Jaguars and the Steelers, we just call the Jaguars the Steelers of the South. So that's definitely going to be a good game. And the way the Jaguars looking now, what they did to the Saints on Thursday, they got something going. I think Sunshine lied to everybody talking about he was hurt and wound up rushing for the most yards of his career. So we'll see what happens when it comes down to Pittsburgh and the Jacksonville Jaguars. But we'll talk about it later throughout the week.
Yeah, and I know ETN's been really good for them too. And we were just mentioning all the great backs you played against, too. Fred Taylor, Maurice Jones-Drew too. So
Greg Jones,
yeah.
man, listen here, man. Listen. People have no idea. Like sometimes I'll be looking like I don't even know how I played against these big dudes, man. This is crazy. Corey Dillon by far had to be the biggest back. 6'4", they say 250. That was 250 coming in training camp. We ain't talking about November, December. It had to be 260, 265. Man, ain't nobody worried about. I remember Corey Dillon telling me while he was running, "Come here, boy." Like he got past the linebackers and his eyes got big when he saw me, and I know my eyes got big. And all I was thinking was, I hope there's a lot of help around because one-on-one, I'm going to lose this one all day. We ain't even talking about Willis McGahee, Clinton Portis. We can just go down the line.
Yeah, it's crazy, Ike.
What? We can just go down the line with these running backs I was going against, man. Certified running back.
Definitely. Ike, you're the absolute best. I want to thank you, the Bleav Network, today's presenting sponsor, BetOnline.ag. The listeners and the viewers on YouTube, smash the subscribe button. Apple and Spotify, 5 stars and 5 stars only.
Appreciate everybody tuning in, man. Make sure y'all subscribe to YouTube. Give us a 5-star on Apple Podcasts. Mark, I want to thank you. Bleav in Podcast. I want to thank you as well. I want to thank the viewers and listeners for tuning in. I always got to drop a hot one to BetOnline.ag for rocking with us since day one. And I'll let my dog Mark close this out.
He's Ike Taylor, 2-time Super Bowl champion. I'm Mark Bergin. Thanks for watching Bleav in Steelers. We'll see you later this week. Until then, take care and so long, everybody.
Peace.